My colleague Erin is also here. This is our network cafe that we have every month on the first Friday of the month. So happy October to everybody. We're just talking about how chilly it already is. Here's the agenda in the chat. You guys can keep introducing yourselves. And we will get started probably in a few seconds because we have a lot to cover. As I said, my name is Colleen Stewart. I'm from the New Hampshire Food Alliance. We are talking all about New Hampshire Farm to School today. Just a quick bit about the New Hampshire Food Alliance. We're a statewide network that supports food system work across many focus areas: climate change, racial equity, food access, all of those things. You can check those out on our website. But today, like I said, the focus is New Hampshire Farm to School. We have some great presentations from a variety of folks on a variety of topics. Nikki Kolb from NOFA New Hampshire, Stacey Purslow of New Hampshire Farm to School, Alexis Dwyer from the Department of Education Nutrition Services, and Jess Gerrior from Cornucopia Project. I'm going to let them introduce themselves in a few minutes, but first we're going to hear from Stacey a little bit about Farm to School. So I will share a presentation. Stacey, you can take it away.
Great, thanks, Colleen. Welcome, everybody. Good to see some familiar faces and some people that I don't know. So looking forward to meeting you all. So just in case you don't know what Farm to School is, broadly, Farm to School enriches the connection communities have with fresh, healthy food and local food producers by changing food purchasing and education practices at schools and early care and education sites. Farm to School empowers children and their families to make informed food choices while strengthening the local economy and contributing to vibrant communities. Farm to School implementation differs by location, but always includes one or more of the following three core elements: procurement, so buying local food for your school meal program; education, students participate in education activities related to agriculture, food, health, nutrition, school gardens, and cooking. School gardens, students engage in hands-on experiential learning through gardening. So that's broadly what Farm to School is. And we're going to present some of what we're going to talk about today is how, it's getting implemented in New Hampshire. You want to go to the next slide, Colleen? Thanks. And so Nikki from NOFA New Hampshire is going to talk about the Local Food for Local Schools Reimbursement Bill.
Can I take it away, Stacey?
Yeah.
All right, thank you. Hi, everyone. I'm Nikki Kolb. I'm NOFA New Hampshire's operations manager. And if you're not familiar with NOFA New Hampshire, we are the Northeast Organic Farming Association of New Hampshire. We're a statewide nonprofit dedicated to helping people build local, sustainable, healthy food systems by actively promoting organic, regenerative, ecologically sound farming, gardening, land care practices, and eating. Thank you again for joining us. And as Colleen said, happy October. Can't believe it's already the 1st. And as Stacey mentioned, I'm going to talk a little bit about the Local Food for Local Schools Reimbursement Bill and how it will increase food security and resilience in New Hampshire. So the New Hampshire Farm to School Network, with the sponsorship of over 10 New Hampshire state legislators, have submitted the Local Food for Local Schools Reimbursement Program as a bill to the New Hampshire legislature. This bill will fund a reimbursement program to incentivize New Hampshire school districts and food service directors to purchase 10% of their nutrition budgets on locally grown and produced food for breakfast and lunch services. K through 12 schools that participate in the National School Lunch Program, the School Breakfast Program, or the Fresh Fruit and Vegetable Program will all be eligible to receive reimbursements under the bill. Approximately 77% of the nearly 150 schools that participate in New Hampshire Farm to School programming already serve local food, setting a strong foundation for the success of the program. So how does it work? By reallocating $1.2 million in federal funding and investing $600,000 in state funding, the bill will inject a total of $1.8 million into the New Hampshire farm and food economy, ensuring that students across the state have access to local, healthy, nutrient-dense food. Schools will be reimbursed $1 for every $3 spent on food purchased from New Hampshire producers and fishers, and $1 for every $6 spent on food purchased from producers in other New England states. Foods that are eligible for reimbursement include dairy, fruits, veggies, beef, poultry, eggs, pork, sustainably caught fish, cider, and maple syrup. Foods can be purchased directly from producers, New Hampshire or regional food hubs, and conventional distributors as well. The reimbursement program would be run and overseen by the Department of Education and Nutrition Services. Why is it necessary? In addition to the health benefits for children, the bill will help improve our local economy by keeping federal money in New Hampshire, and it will increase business and resiliency for Granite State farmers, producers, and fishers. It will also provide students with a deeper understanding of where their food comes from and what foods are grown and produced in our state and region. All of that is critical because today only 6% of food consumed in New Hampshire is actually produced here. Over the last year and a half, we've seen how a largely import-based food economy can be affected by external conditions like the pandemic and climate change. We all remember facing empty grocery store shelves during the height of the pandemic last year, I'm sure, and supply chains are still being impacted by the ripple effect of COVID-19, the strain climate change is putting on our food system, and continued market consolidation, as we're seeing right now with Horizon Organic Milk, for example, which has ended contracts with 89 organic dairies across the Northeast, including 2 right here in New Hampshire. The Local Food for Local Schools reimbursement bill will increase food security in New Hampshire, decrease our reliance on food imports, and help ensure that our state continues to have the ability to react to ongoing stressors impacting our national and global food system. The bill has bipartisan support, and we're delighted to see that our lawmakers recognize the many benefits it will have in New Hampshire. The prime sponsor is Representative Alexis Simpson from Exeter, and there are 9 other co-sponsors in the House, including Representative Megan Murray from Amherst, who is working closely with Representative Simpson. And sponsors are also being secured in the Senate. The bill is a proven model. It's based on similar legislation in Maine, New York, and Vermont. And the New Hampshire bill is expected to come out any day now, appropriately, during Farm to School Month, and a hearing will take place in February 2022. We're excited about how the reimbursement program will open up new markets for our state's farmers and food producers and fishers, improve school nutrition, keep federal dollars in New Hampshire, invest in our food and farm economy, and educate children about local food. We'll be sharing more information about how you can help support the bill over the coming months, so please subscribe to the Farm to School Network's reimbursement bill mailing list for upcoming details. And you can also email me if you'd like to collaborate or volunteer to help support the bill, and we'll put those links in the chat. So thank you all again for your interest, and I don't know if we want to take questions now or later, Stacey and Colleen. Thank you.
Why don't we take a few questions now if anybody has any. We'll also have some time at the end.
Feel free to put them in the chat. If you don't want to unmute yourself, that's totally fine. If you have any questions or raise your hand, you can use that function as well.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I'm sorry if I missed the first part, but wondering about the spending amount that each school, or how kind of the money is being divvied up.
Want to do that one, Nikki?
Sure, yes. So the reimbursement bill will enable each school to spend 10% of their nutrition budgets on local food, and that's up to $1,200 per school.
Nikki, there's a question in the chat. Is that Carol's asking, how is this applied to colleges? That's a great question. I don't know if we have an answer for that.
Well, it is K through 12 schools.
Great.
Yeah, so it's a reimbursement bill for federally funded meal programs. So school meals are mostly federally funded. And so we have federal dollars that come into the state, which schools use to support their school food service program. So the reimbursement bill would be sort of capitalizing on those federal dollars, and colleges do not get any federal funding for their meal programs.
Thank you for clarifying that, Stacey.
When will this start? I just jumped on too, so I might have missed some of the beginning stuff.
Hi, Emily. So the bill is going to be announced any day now, and then it'll have to go through committee next legislative session, which starts in January. So, and the committee is expected to vote on it in February, and they decide whether it's going to go to the House floor for a full vote or not. So next year, we hope.
And will it be like us submitting like receipts to the state to get reimbursement?
Yes.
Great.
We don't have all the details of that particular function of it. Just that you will have to submit invoices showing, proof of where you bought the food in order to get the reimbursement. But the details of like, well, you have to do that monthly, quarterly, we don't quite know yet. Peter.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so this is Peter Bixby. I'm a state rep, and I just wanted to make a couple of notes about process. So the legislative service request gets turned into a bill in January, and then the Speaker's office decides which committee to send it to. I would guess it's most likely to go to the Education Committee. It might go to my committee, which is Environment and Agriculture, but I'm pretty sure it would get a very friendly reception, but I'm not sure that it's guaranteed a friendly reception in education. I don't have any influence on where the bill goes. So one of the things that's going to be really important in January and early February, depending on when the bill gets scheduled for a hearing, is getting a lot of people to come out and support the bill. And it's going to be particularly important for those of you who have Republican representatives to get in touch with them and really make a push for it, because I think that it's probably going to get a fairly positive reception on the Democratic side, and I think that it's going to get a mixed reception on the Republican side. So it's going to need a lot of lobbying from the general public to make it to get it through. So that's the next step. And in terms of how the details of how it's going to end up working in terms of reimbursement and that sort of thing, that is all subject to change in the committee process and the amendment process. So you can't really say exactly how that's going to work right now. But I think that if people really work on the Republican representatives, then it has a reasonable chance of passing.
Awesome. Thanks, Peter. Nikki, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. That was really helpful. And I know that Colleen put a web link to NOFA New Hampshire's farm to school legislation webpage into the chat. And I think that I saw a question from Erin about how people can support the bill. So there's a really great messaging toolkit that you can find on that webpage. So As we get closer to that hearing time, people can share on social media. You can write to your legislators or call them, like Peter mentioned. I think that there will be some sign-on letters for individuals and perhaps also institutions. So there's a number of different ways that we'll be rolling out in the coming months about how you can help. And so if you do sign up for that mailing list that's specific to this legislation, then you'll get all of those great details about how you can help. And NOFA New Hampshire is also going to be hosting a webinar to learn more about the bill prior to the committee hearing. So it'll be kind of like a listening session for people to learn more. And that's going to be sometime in January. So again, stay tuned, sign up for the mailing list, please. Thank you.
Go ahead, Peter.
Yeah, just another quick question. Have you been in touch with the New Hampshire Farm Bureau in terms of getting them to help support it?
We have not yet. So we're just waiting for the LSR to come out, and then we're gonna kick into gear with getting.
Yeah, I'd recommend getting in touch with Rob Johnson sooner rather than later, just to let him know that it's coming and what it's about, because I think that getting the Farm Bureau on board may make the difference between us being able to get it through or not.
Thank you, Peter. One last question before we move on. Where is the federal funding to support this bill coming from? It's a good kind of clarification.
So school lunch programs across the country are federally funded through the Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act, a federal program that's run through the USDA. So that is the federal dollars come into the state every year to support school meal programs. So that's where the federal funding is coming from.
Perfect. All right. Well, we're going to move on to our next presenter, which is with Stacey. But thank you so much, Nikki. That was great. I'm going to share our little presentation again, and Stacey, you can take it away.
Great. Thanks, Colleen. And again, we'll have, if you still have questions, put them in the chat, and we'll still have some time at the end for more questions about the bill or anything else you hear today. So October 1, and welcome to National Farm to School Month. So National Farm to School Month is something, it's a federal thing or national thing that the National Farm to School Network put in place a number of years ago. And I'm going to talk about how you can get involved in Farm to School Month in New Hampshire. So this year, we are highlighting various weeks in the month of October to highlight different components of Farm to School. So this week is School Garden Harvest Week, followed by Classroom Connection Week, School Lunch Heroes Week, Celebrating Culture, and then finally Farm to Preschool Week. Colleen and I have developed a toolkit with resources. If you can go to the next slide, Colleen. As you can see, resources are available for each week. This is an example of Classroom Connections and School Garden Harvest Week. So links to other resources, ideas of what you can do, whether you're at school or homeschoolers can do this. So we have a whole toolkit. It's available on the New Hampshire Farm to School website. I don't know if you want to drop the link in there, Colleen, with to this resource. You can download it. We have some social media that you can use that's been created for each week. If you want to, tag Farm to School Month and show a picture of what you're doing at your school or what's happening in the cafeteria, that would be great to see. So there's one for each week. And we also have a photo contest happening. So also on the website, there's a link to submit photos. We have 3 categories: what's on your tray, how are you serving local foods in your cafeteria, fun in the garden, what are you doing with your students in the garden, and other educational opportunities. If you're going on a field trip or doing something that's not garden or school food related, you're welcome to upload a photo of that. And I also wanted to talk about a few other things, resources that New Hampshire Farm to School has. We have a new Indigenous New Hampshire harvest calendar, which is a seasonal calendar of the various foods that were eaten by the Abenaki and continue to be eaten by the Abenaki people who still live here. So we have the seasonal calendar, we have recipes, we have activities that classrooms can do. So there's a lot of history there, a lot of links to other resources around this topic. I worked with the Indigenous New Hampshire Collaborative Collective to put this educational resource together. If you go to their website, you'll find the resource there, but we're also working on other resources. So they also have a 13 Moons unit lesson plan. So the 13 moons, so that's why we have a turtle as the logo for the Indigenous New Hampshire harvest calendar, because the back of the turtles also has 13 on it, and it's important to the Indigenous people here. So we're building out this 13 moons unit lesson plans that represent the different moons of the year. We are also working on an educator's guide. It's called Indigenizing Your Curriculum. So it'll be available to educators across the state. And so taking a critical look at, what you're teaching in your classrooms and what you're saying about what you're teaching. It gives links to recommended resources, books, other, things to educate yourself about the topic. So that's going to be coming out hopefully this month, and you'll be able to find it here on this website. We also have the New Hampshire Harvest of the Month calendar. It's been around a while. I'm sure many of you are aware of it. It's kale month this month, but again, it's a monthly calendar of different fruits and vegetables that are available from New Hampshire farms. Comes with school lunch recipes, classroom activities, beautiful posters, handouts that you can send home with kids around nutrition and recipes that they can do at home. So it's a great tool to get started if you're considering starting some farm to school programming. This is a really easy thing to adopt. I know cafeterias around the state use it, and some classrooms may use it too, but it's beautiful materials, and it's really easy to get started in farm to school by utilizing this program. So that's all I have, and I'm going to turn it over to Alexis from the New Hampshire Department of Education, who's going to talk about the Great Apple Crunch.
We do have a few minutes for questions about Stacey's presentation about Farm to School Month. If anybody has any, I'll check the chat now. Thank you for sharing those, Erin, while I was screen sharing. Any questions for Stacey before we move on? Feel free to shout it out or use the raise your hand or put it in the chat. Jess, you're raising your hand. Go ahead.
Those are beautiful resources, Stacey. Have you gotten some feedback from teachers or others who are using the materials about what they're doing with them?
I haven't. We do have a form that they can upload, how they're using it. It doesn't, they don't generally do that. And also last year was obviously an unusual year. So I don't know how much teachers were actually using the materials. And the Indigenous Harvest Calendar is a little bit harder to implement just because some of the food items, they're not going to serve in schools. And also we launched it during a COVID year. So we are doing a workshop about it that is part of the New Hampshire NEA conference later this month. So it will get into the hands of some teachers via that conference. So hopefully there'll be some adoption of it.
Great question, Jess. Any other questions? No. Yes? Okay. All right, Alexis, you are up. You can introduce yourself. I'll share our presentation and take it away.
Excellent. Thank you, everyone, and thank you so much for having me. As Stacey mentioned, I'm Alexis Dwyer. I'm a program specialist at the New Hampshire Department of Education in the Office of Nutrition Programs and Services. So I'm delighted to have the opportunity to talk to you about our New Hampshire Great Apple Crunch. This is our second annual statewide Great Apple Crunch that we're organizing. And this year, schools and childcare centers are celebrating on October 7th by crunching into a locally grown apple. Schools are organizing crunches by integrating it into the breakfast or lunch program, or keeping it separate during a special crunch time when all students crunch simultaneously into a local apple during the school day. This event is actually a perfect combination for schools that have the fresh fruit and vegetable program, where students are already receiving a fresh fruit or vegetable taste test during the day. And we love that this event, of course, can be as small or large as a school or center wants, and they can easily connect it to the National Farm to School Month. So speaking of connections, I can't move on without saying we just love that this event is a perfect way to connect the school community with Farm to School, because you can see here the Crunch event involves food service, students, and it's a way to possibly get the teachers and administration involved as well. And of course, it is all about purchasing local. So we're really lucky and grateful that the Farm to School Month celebration falls during one of our best times of year here in New Hampshire, the apple season, perfect thing to crunch into. So schools and centers can easily find an apple orchard to procure apples from. They can use the small purchase or micro purchase procurement method, just as some examples. So it's really an attainable goal for them. And for this year, I've seen some of the apples are being purchased from Hackleboro Orchard, Gould Hill, Brookdale Fruit Farm, Apple Annie Orchard, and Surwick Farms. So we're excited. That's just some of them across the state. So schools and centers are encouraged to count their crunch by filling out the New Hampshire Great Apple Crunch form. And if they do that, then they'll be placed on our New Hampshire Great Apple Crunch map. And we just kind of love to do that because we know it's taking place and we know there's a lot of schools doing it. But if we can capture the schools that are doing it and kind of see the impact, that's extra exciting. And so far we have 18 sites on the map. And I think I saw someone who has some of their schools on the map. So thank you, Emily, for being here and for taking part in the Great Apple Crunch with your schools. So here you can see the map that we've created for the event. And also on the map, we have mapped out some different apple orchards. We definitely know there's more apple orchards than the ones listed here as new orchards, and sites are popping up all the time, but we're happy to provide at least this resource using information from the Department of Ag if schools need assistance on finding an orchard in their area. And of course, we always encourage schools to pair nutrition and agriculture education along with the event as well. There's also so many ways to get creative, and there's plenty of resources already available for the event, so they don't have to create anything from scratch. And as you can see here, there's some directly available from New Hampshire. There's so many more, that list could be exhaustive. We're proud of apples. And of course, we hope that everyone shares their celebrations that day by utilizing the hashtag NH Great Apple Crunch 2021. And you don't have to be a school to be able to participate in that. We would just love to look up the hashtag and see everyone celebrating across the state of New Hampshire on October 7th by crunching into a locally grown apple. And I know here our Office of Nutrition will be doing it together, as well as the whole Department of Education. We're getting them all involved. And you can see here a picture from last year from the commissioner crunching into an apple, and then cite their promotion on the right, one of the sites and schools. So thank you.
Thanks, Alexis. All right. Any questions for Alexis about Great Apple Crunch? I'm going to start putting some of those resources in the chat there, but feel free to shout out your questions, put them in the chat.
Alexis, I have a question just about the broader program in terms of numbers of schools who are already participating and how schools could become partners with your program.
So for this one, just for the crunch, they can just count it on the map by filling out that form. So the school might be taking part. It's really, we're just trying to grow interest around it and make it an attainable step forward for farm to school. Right now, we're not asking for, numbers of apples served that day or anything like further than that. We're just trying to get schools to participate by purchasing local apples, because we know that sometimes that can be, although I mentioned in the presentation, the small and micro purchase model are easy procurement methods. Nothing's easy for food service, right? They're already taking on so much to be able to feed kids, especially during this time. So really all that we're asking right now is that they serve local apples and then they can count their crunch on that form, and then we'll put them on the map, and we're just counting number of school sites right now. Does that answer it, Erin?
Yeah, I guess I was thinking about the broader program. So you were mentioning schools that are already participating in your other programs.
Oh, do you mean the fresh fruit and vegetable program?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Yeah, the fresh fruit and vegetable program, that's an invitation only program. So if schools in your area are invited to participate, we at the Department of Education will do everything possible for them to be able to fill out the application and submit it and be approved. We really don't turn anyone down because it's an invitation program based on criteria, including low income population, free or reduced lunch applications. So there's a lot of schools across New Hampshire that have it. I should know it off the top of my head, but I don't, but it's in elementary schools. And there are some middle schools who have it. So it is confusing, but those middle schools are actually qualified as elementary schools. But it's only elementary schools in low income areas. But most likely there is one maybe in your area, and take a look, and hopefully they're getting involved, because that is the program that they can already serve the snack during the day. So why not make it a local apple?
Yeah, great, thank you.
Alexis, how were schools notified about the Great Apple Crunch?
Yes, so we had our August Wellness and Learning Conference where we shared it out there to all of our food service directors, and a lot of business administrators attend that conference as well. So they were notified during that in August so that they could plan a little bit in advance. And then we've sent out resources for emails to the field from our office as well. And I think there's been like promotion elsewhere perhaps, because people can take it and run with it. We have a flyer that we've sent out that was on that first slide that people can take and promote it within their school area. And I know that we just had a new communications person hired at the department on Monday. We were without one this whole summer, so we weren't able to connect prior to this week, but she did put together a press advisory that is going out.
Great, thank you, Alexis. And we'll follow up with a lot of the materials that Alexis is referring to when we share this recording and all of the follow-up materials from this network cafe. Any last questions for Alexis? Okay, all right, we're going to transition to our last presenter, Jess Gerrior from the Cornucopia project. Jess, you can take it away and I will start sharing some slides.
Thanks, Colleen. My name is Jess Gerrior. I am the program coordinator at Cornucopia project. So this is one part-time role that I have. In addition, I direct New Hampshire Gleans, but I'm really thrilled to be presenting on behalf of Cornucopia project today, an organization that I care deeply about. My kids are now involved as student farmers there. And it's just been an incredible organization to be part of in the Monadnock region of southwestern New Hampshire. So I'm presenting about what Cornucopia Project does, about our various farm to school programs, as well as a little bit about network development in the Monadnock region with specific connection to farm to school. So Cornucopia Project has been doing farm to school for 15 years. We've teamed up with Stonewall Farm to create and share farm to school activities, with even more schools being added in the Monadnock region through our partnership and the creation of the Monadnock Farm to School Network. We are building a space for anyone interested to access resources, share information, and ask questions. So I brought some photos, and these show the branches of Cornucopia Project's farm to school activities. And that includes 3 main areas of activity. That's our school gardening, healthy cooking, and our educational farm. So our school gardens, you can see a couple of photos here, includes 3 levels of engagement. One is consulting with the schools to build or to revitalize our school gardens, or the students' school gardens, developing and sharing school garden learning kits that have everything a teacher needs to lead a hands-on garden lesson with their class. And our original program, where educators make weekly visits, currently that's to 9 schools in the region. We show elementary students how to plant, grow, and prepare fresh produce for healthy eating. Each week we focus on themes that encompass ecology, environmental sustainability, and interdisciplinary studies. Right now we're in week 4 of our 7-week fall program. It's going really great. The students are really enthusiastic, as well as the teachers. We dug up potatoes, and the kids had a blast getting really dirty and learning a lot too. They're asking great questions and applying a lot of what they're learning in the garden back into the classroom, and vice versa. Our second area of programming is in healthy cooking. That includes our Cool Chefs, our in-person cooking program, Cool Chefs at Home. And we have Eat a Rainbow tastings. Those have been really fun. We bring local foods grown on our farm to schools and to youth groups. We host culinary internships at local establishments, and that includes fine dining, bakeries, bed and breakfast, cheese cave. And then at our educational farm, we offer field trips, summer trainings. This is the next slide. Yep. Our Young Farmers program, our high school 4-credit courses or extended learning opportunities, or ELOs. That includes special education opportunities, community workshops, which have been wonderful. Friday afternoons, the farm is so beautiful on those Friday afternoons. Our full season student farmers, they run the CSA program. The students really run the program. They're hands-on in every aspect. And our wholesale produce production, we have a contract with the high school right across the street to raise up to 1,000 pounds of carrots for fresh eating in the cafeteria. And we host college and graduate school interns. And we have, of course, produce, and that goes to local restaurants and schools, as well as feeds into our education program for tastings, cook ingredients, and even food pantries. So we're doing a lot. So for 2021 and 2022, our work is further supported by a USDA Food and Nutrition Service Farm to School grant. We've spent 4 years creating our farm across from the high school. That's Conval High School in Peterborough. And that's to respond to the needs and the wants in our community. Through our research, we found that people in our geographic area value local food, and they want youth to participate in agriculture to continue that agricultural tradition of the state and to improve community health. People also value the work experience and the training that we provide to students, along with the focus on lifelong nutrition and how that's connected to environmental sustainability. The Monadnock Farm to School Network is an opportunity to convene stakeholders throughout the region, creating open access so anyone may more easily participate in farm to school activities. Our goal is to facilitate greater awareness and access among school communities in relation to local food, through primary channels of school gardening, food preparation, farm field trips, and the availability of local food at school. And on the next slide, I'll just guide folks to get in touch with us anytime. We want to be open to absolutely everybody. And the next slide includes the hashtag Monadnock Farm to School. You can look for posts from Cornucopia as well as all of our network partners in the Monadnock region. And I would really encourage everybody to follow us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, and of course our website. Right now we're posting pictures every week, several times a week, of our school garden programs, our farm to fork programs, and our community programs. And it's really fun to see the students, the kids, and the community members and what they're up to. We also have a Facebook group, especially for people doing farm to school work in the Monadnock region. So if you follow Cornucopia on our Facebook page or look up Monadnock Farm to School, you can join in network conversations that way too. So thanks so much, and congrats to all of you for the work that you're doing, and thank you for showing up here.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Jess. Anyone we can kind of open it up now to all questions specifically for Jess about the Monadnock Farm to School work, or any of our presenters who shared with us today. So by all means, share some questions.
So I just wanted to say thank you to the presenters, and that the Monadnock Farm to School Network is one of 3 regional farm to school networks under development. So we also have the Lakes Region Farm to School Network and a North Country Farm to School Network. So sort of just getting started and in contacting and finding out who's doing what in those regions, and sharing and learning amongst the partners, and figuring out how to better support anybody that's doing farm to school work in those areas. So if you live in one of those areas and you want to be involved in the network, you can reach out to me and I can get you connected. Another thing that's happening maybe next week is the USDA is probably going to announce the next round of farm to school grants. So the grant should open up maybe next week, and applications are probably due in December. So it's been, we've got a lot of money that's come into the state to support farm to school programs. We have 4 grants right now that are happening in the state. So if anybody wants more information or wants support on writing one, it's open to schools, it's open to farmers, it's open to nonprofit organizations, or all types of farm to school work that you may want to do. So if you're interested, just let me know.
Great. Thank you, Stacey. Again, open to questions. If anybody has any, feel free to raise your hand or put it in the chat. We do have about 15-ish more minutes to answer some questions. So fire away.
I guess I don't have any questions, but I'm wondering if there's anybody else on the call today that wants to share about farm to school activities that they're doing in their region or through their organization. I do see some other, familiar faces here. So, so I'm thinking, Beth, you're there. If you have anything exciting that's happening in the Upper Valley Farm to School Network, or Lisa in the Lakes region. If anybody else wants to share, so we get a sense of all the other exciting things going on across the state.
Well, I just yesterday, I'm trying to combine some of the farm to school activities I'm doing with the New Hampshire Gleans program that we also do. And so we had a gleaning that I brought to the school. We had the students from Project Extra and after school program bag all the veggies, and the very next day, I did a pop-up farmers market that was actually funded by the New England Grassroots Foundation. And so, I was trying to, that New England's Grassroots really focuses on community building. So I was trying to incorporate the education and awareness piece from farm to school and bringing in the gleaning. And so that I was working with 4th and 5th graders. So I had, the concepts are I think going to be repeated several times before it's like, I'm putting it all together now. But so I think I'm excited about trying to expand that. And I had a conversation with Stacey Purslow the other day too about, though, how to build a network doesn't mean necessarily one person going to each place and doing all the schlepping. It's working on building a community. And so that's where I'm going to try to focus on.
That's great. And for those who don't know Lisa is the director of the, is it Lakes Region Conservation District? Sorry.
It's Belknap County specifically.
Belknap County, sorry. Yep. Belknap County Conservation District. Thanks, Lisa. Go ahead, Peter. I see your hand up.
Yeah. Last year, sort of in response to the pandemic, Jessica, my wife, and I worked on getting the school garden at Horn Street, which had been sort of just fallow, up and running to provide food for the community. And this year we started out earlier and did some intentional planning, and were able to get things started much sooner. So the kids were back in school in the spring, so we were able to get them to help with some planting. And then we had a good set of volunteers throughout the summer, and we were able to provide hundreds of pounds of fresh produce to various food banks and the Dover Children's Home, Community Action Partners here in Dover. And then this fall, the kids have been able to get out into the garden and do harvesting. So they've been very excited to harvest green beans, and they were also, and carrots, and the perennial surprise of the kids really being amazed that carrots come out of the ground, and the adults being amazed that they didn't know that. So it's been a real success, and it's as Jessica mentioned, it's having one person do the whole thing is not a recipe for success. You really need to have a group of volunteers who will share the work of doing the networking with the food pantries, the suppliers, the getting volunteers to do the weeding and the harvesting, etc. So yeah,
That's great, Peter.
Working.
Thanks so much for sharing. It looks like Beth, you've got your hand up too.
Great to see everybody here and such a great turnout. So I'm Beth Roy. I'm with Vital Communities. We're based out of White River Junction, Vermont, and I run the Upper Valley Farm to School network, coordinate that. And so our service area is both Vermont and New Hampshire, kind of like in the middle of both states, this little oval. It's about 69 towns between the two states. And I think for this year, what I'm really finding is, focusing a little bit more on farm to early childcare and education. And those really, birth to 3-4-year-olds in there. It seems every year we give out usually about 10 mini grants, just small grants, $500, each. The majority of our applicants were actually early child care facilities. And so I was just like, whoa, they're really getting into this. And so it just made me think that there's a lot more work out there to do and to really incorporate them and pull them into all our networks more. And and so we just did a webinar for farm to early childhood folks this week. And our plan is to hopefully do a multi-day in-person thing sometime in the spring when we can just be outside and we'll work together on that. So just do some more professional development around that. The other thing that just kind of been noodling on a lot just over the past 18 months, I guess, trying to think about, and I'm not sure if other folks have been thinking about this too, is really incorporating equity within the farm to school work and going beyond the land acknowledgement, because I feel like that is kind of like we go there and stop. How are we really working on equitable education within our schools? Because farm to school sometimes is not, it's not always equitable in the sense of being able to, all schools are not able to access the great benefits of our farm to school work. So if anyone wants to chat about that and think that through and how we can work on that, I'd love to connect. Yeah, I think that's probably it right now. So great to see everybody.
Thanks, Beth.
Dana Stevens, can I call on you to talk about the Farm to ECE project that is just getting underway?
Yeah, sure. Beth, I'd love to talk to you and connect after the call and learn what you've been doing with your ECE work. But yeah, the Northeast Farm to School Collaborative and Farm to Institution New England work together to get a USDA Farm to School grant to develop, to do an ecosystem assessment of farm to ECE work in the region and develop some professional development opportunities and materials, and create a community of practice of folks that are working in each state on the farm to ECE environment. So we're forming that community of practice right now and looking for folks that are interested in participating in that. And then as soon as that group is formed, we'll start to work a little bit more on the ecosystem assessment, collecting information and data and creating a report that we can certainly share with you all about the challenges and barriers that early care and education centers are facing in terms of agricultural education and local procurement. And then, yeah, the other main component is those professional development opportunities. So I think we'll be doing 4 virtual workshops that are a little bit more basic, like Farm to ECE 101, and that will be available to anyone in the region. And we're also working with Shelburne Farms in Vermont that has a much more robust 3-credit, 15-week course that is designed for early childcare providers to really take Farm to ECE to the next level. So we want to adapt that into something that could work for the other New England states. So I'll put my contact information in the chat, and if anybody wants to connect and talk more about that, I'm happy to do that. And Stacey is also one of the advisors for that project and helped write that grant. So she's a good contact as well.
Thanks, Dana.
I was just looking at the chat and I see that our new New Hampshire Food Hub Network coordinator, Caitlin Porter, is on the line. And she had a question for Jess Gerrior about Cornucopia project and whether you're working to expand local purchasing capacity other than the high school in Peterborough. And maybe before you answer that, Jess, I would just say, Caitlin, maybe put your email address in the chat, because Caitlin's really interested in trying to connect our food hubs more to farm to school work across the state. And she's going to really start digging into all of that this coming year. Hi, Caitlin, I see you now. So if you're interested in connecting with Caitlin and seeing about how, your farm to school program or school might be able to connect with the food hubs, she'll be a great resource going forward. Jess, did you want to pop in? Yeah.
Sure. So Caitlin was asking, what are we doing at Cornucopia Project to support more local food purchases aside from our farm wholesale? Do I understand that right? Okay, yeah. As an educational organization, we are all about teaching kids and our community members about where their food comes from and why that's important to know. We do that by letting them experience the pleasure of growing their own food and tasting it and becoming part of the local food system. And so because of that, we support all kinds of local food purchasing. When we're not, for example, when we're going out and doing tastings, if there are any special requests for produce that perhaps we don't grow on our own farm, or if we need more than what's available because Some of our produce has already been allocated to a school program or other educational program. We'll always support local when we do our purchasing, and we encourage others to do the same. So yeah, for us, it's definitely about, learning that we each have a part in local food and learning where our food comes from and helping people to see themselves as part of that system. And that's a lot of the feedback that we do get from our high school students, our graduate and undergraduate interns, is helping them to see that experience. So yeah, I hope that helps.
Yeah, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Right. Is there any other questions or things that folks want to share? So it looks like we're coming up on time. Any last reminders or words from our presenters today?
I did want to make 2 more announcements, and it's things that are coming up that I don't have any links to, so I didn't share about it so much. But so the Farm to School Network is developing a webinar series. Hopefully that will be announced in early December. So 5 or 6 webinars are on the topic of farm to school over the winter and spring, for teachers, school administration, food service. Going to be talking about various aspects of farm to school. And then the New Hampshire School and Youth Garden Network is also doing something similar, but it's just going to be around school and youth gardens. Again, various topics around school gardens starting in January and going through early spring. So those will be announced when they're ready. And partners will have the information on their websites, and we'll be working to get the word out about it through Farm to School and other networks. So just keep it in mind that those are coming up for anybody that wants to learn more.
Great, thanks, Stacey. And I just put a link in the chat for the New Hampshire Food Alliance Network Development Retreat. This is our annual retreat coming up on October 15th. It's 2 hours on a Friday, October 15th. And it's a little different than our yearly annual summit. This is really about kind of digging in to all of our action teams and figuring out ways that we might find synergy across our different focus areas. So bringing together folks that have been working on food access with those working in market development, for example, or racial equity and land access. And also just thinking more strategically about how we can better communicate and collaborate as a network. So really encourage anybody who's interested in getting more involved in the Alliance and making it work for you to come to that retreat and help give your input and share your ideas for new collaborative projects we can work on together and help us figure out the direction for the network in the coming year. And so the link there is more information and a link to register as well. Anything else we're forgetting, Colleen?
I don't think so.
Okay.
We'll be having a newsletter coming out next week, so that'll cover it all. So be ready for that. Well, we're just about up. If we don't have anything else to share, any more questions, thank you all for joining us. I think this was a really great way to spend the first day of October learning about farm to school. And remember, it's Farm to School month, so get out there and start celebrating. Again, thank you, and we will be in touch with a follow-up email of the recording. Have a good day, everybody.
All right, hope to see you all soon. Take care. Thanks to our presenters.
Bye.